morning. We are going to be watching day 3 of the Stacy Rodriguez trial. It started last week. It's going to be a pretty short trial. We've had a couple of those, especially last week. I'm going to go ahead and read over just a little bit of the details in case somebody missed the whole thing or missed several days, and that way you're basically on the same page as us. So like I said, today's day 3. We have learned that Stacy Rodriguez and Hosanna had met a guy named Chris, and they met him either at a bar or right outside a bar in an alley. At some point, they ended up in an alley, and he had invited both of the girls back to his house to continue to party, drink, really. He evidently drank a lot. So they decided to go back. They drove, I believe it's Hosanna's silver Malibu car. They parked it on the street. They were there. And from there, we've learned that several things happened, and yet nothing's been 100% confirmed. But it sounded like he was beyond his limit for drinking. They were not drinking. They were pretending they were. And they started to think of a plan as to how to rob him, essentially. And we do know that one of the girls hit him with 2 beer bottles. And it was at that point that he said to leave. One of the girls left. Stacy remained in the house. Christopher Dickinson was stabbed through his neck 5 times. And on the 6th time, it was left in there. Stacy then goes out to the car and they leave just for a little bit. I think it was 10 to 15 minutes. They come back. They have cans and different things that are going up to the house, and his house goes up in a big fireball blaze. I mean, it was crazy actually getting to see some of the photos because it is really bad. But they were able to recover his body even through all of that burning and fire, and with the object still in his neck. So it is ruled a homicide. They think that he had died from that, and then the fire happened. So they started gathering neighbors' footage through their security devices. And these girls, even the next day after the fire, would drive by and look at the house. It happened several times. And slowly they started piecing it together and collecting their information, and they were arrested. So Hosanna actually had done a plea deal. So she will not be having a trial, but Stacy is. And I mean, so far, all evidence points to she's guilty, and she also did rob him. There was jewelry, there's a ring box, there was all the stuff pulled out in his bedroom. Even with the fire, they were able to recover all this stuff everywhere after she must have been searching, just throwing it around. And Stacy and Hosanna, although Hosanna had children and I think was still married at that time, she was dating Stacy. So there's a whole love triangle somewhere in there too, which is just crazy. So that basically covers just the major things that you need to know. In a text or written down somewhere, Stacy said that, "I think the thing I did is getting to me. I'm feeling guilty and regretful, but I can't tell anybody." Well, they found that, and they are saying that's her admitting what she did. So that's being used. When defense comes back on, they are going to be arguing that he somehow attacked the girls and Stacy killing him was just self-defense. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. I think this trial will probably last until tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, but it's pretty much almost over, I think. Very quick. All right, I'm moving this in so we can start it when they're ready. Okay. And as per usual, if you want sound up or down for this video, let me know. Oh, I gotta open my chat. I don't even have the chat box open. Thank goodness I checked my mic, because sometimes you guys save me and tell me when my mic is muted. All right, let me find it. Oh, hi, David. Oh, good. I'm glad I opened this up. I would have missed out on everything. So yeah, I think it's going to end probably tomorrow, probably be the whole day. Very latest Wednesday, but it was moving quite fast last week. Let me see if there's anything else that... Oh, Chris had a roommate. He was 36, Chris was, and he had a roommate, but the roommate was not there. And he hasn't come to the trial. I haven't heard like any information on him. So I think it's weird that there hasn't been information knowing that somebody else actually lived there. Stacy was 19 at the time. Hosanna in her plea deal said she pleaded guilty to arson, tampering with evidence, accessory to murder, and she's willing to testify against Stacy, and she is serving 32 years in prison instead of life. Oh, hey Jeffrey, I just said it. If you need me to re-say it, I'll say it again. That was good timing though. So, and his bedroom was really interesting because the pictures that we saw of all of the rooms, I mean, everything was burnt down into rubble on the floor, but not his bedroom. Yes, there was a fire in there, and yes, things were getting damaged, but his bed frame and his mattress, they didn't go up in a fire. They didn't get totally ruined and turn into rubble like everything else. And I thought that was interesting. Even the Zales ring box, you could still see it said Zales, and you could still open it and close it. I was like, that is a sturdy box. I actually think she has multiple kids. I'm gonna look really quick. And I think she was married at this time. I don't know if she's divorced now, but not good. I mean, I think though 32 years is significantly better than life. She was right around the same age as Stacy, and who was 19 at the time. So, I mean, yeah, she'll be missing her children growing up and all of that. Yeah, this is Stacy's mugshot, but let me pull this up. I just happen to have this saved on my computer. I think I was showing it last week. Let me see. Image. Okay, so get a good look at Stacy, and then this is Hosanna. I think they look so much alike. I'm like, they're dating? They look like they're sisters. Or at least I think so. All right, let me see if I can find how many kids she has. Well, I hope not, since they were dating each other. Okay, I found a couple articles on her, so I think I'll be able to find the answer in just a second. And this all happened in 2021. I think it was you, David, who was saying the same thing I did last week about this, but online there was not a lot of information about this entire situation or the trial itself, which is very weird. And I don't think she'll take the stand. Her attorneys would be crazy to let her do that. No, I don't think it's a death penalty case. This is Colorado, and I don't think they have death penalty there, but I'll just double check just to make sure. No, yeah, they don't have the death penalty there. So Hosanna was 23 at the time. And so in the mugshot. Chris was 35. It's very hard right now to find anything about if she's married or children, but I read somewhere there were multiple children, so maybe on break or something I'll watch and look for more things. They're a little bit late today. Oh, I didn't realize my screen's froze. Let me fix it really quick. that back on. Did I get it? Oh, I got it. Okay. That was a struggle. Let me refresh their page just to make sure we're not missing anything. Nope. If either of you have been watching the Monica Simontelli trial, this week is going to be the crazy week with all the different people coming and testifying. They probably were on drugs. The fact that they were all in an alley and that's where they met each other right there is pretty shady. So something was going on. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if her hands had anything on them. I think she does have chains at her ankles. Yeah, I feel pretty positive that today will be Christopher Austin's day to come in and take the stand against Monica. Monica's two girls were there on Friday, which are huge witnesses for this case. So I feel like if they already went and they were big ones, I bet Chris is going to be today. And that would be for the state. And then defense is supposed to be the one calling in Robert Baker. I still kind of want the state to do it. I still want him to flip on her and say that she helped set it up, because it seems like she absolutely did. But we'll just see how it goes. Chris already said he would testify in that way, that he would say what had really happened and say what Monica actually did and was a part of. All right, so I found a little bit of answers. Hosanna, she has 3 children and was with her high school sweetheart. It's awful. She made some bad decisions to take away what could have been a happy life. I'm assuming that she's divorced now. Yeah, the Monica trial, just think the state prosecutors are going to be really going after some of these witnesses that are coming today and this week. Well, I was saying Hosanna's the one that has 3 children and was with her high school sweetheart, because she's the one with Stacy who helped kill this guy. And now she's in jail for 32 years. She should have stayed far away. I'm surprised they're starting late today. This one's actually been very punctual. Well, just in case we have people on here that were not here last week, I'm going to show you some of the pictures that I took of Chris from the internet. This is Christopher. At some point he owned a dog. We haven't heard that he had a dog in that house when this happened. So hopefully the dog is fine or wasn't there. Here comes Stacy in the courtroom. This is also Chris.
All right, the court will go on the record in 21 CR 2296, People of the State of Colorado versus Stacy Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez appears today with counsels Ms. Devereaux and Ms. Trujillo. Mr. Praley and Mr. McCormick appear today for the state. We come on for day 6 of jury trial, and we are outside of the presence of the jury. Any issues that we need to address before we resume with testimony from the defense?
No, not from the defense.
All right, anything from the state?
I'll just note that I have spoken to Ms. Trujillo as part of their exhibit list. The first 2 exhibits were dealing with Mr. Dickerson, and I think there's an agreement that that will not be addressed through a live witness, but rather on a break, and so we can postpone that until a later time.
Okay. All right. If there's no other issues, let's go ahead and bring the jury in and we'll.
I'm gonna look for her arrest video. I think I saw part of it, and I'll play it during the break.
Please rise for the jury.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. The state may call their next witness.
Judge, the people call Jerry Burrows.
All right, thank you. Sir, if you'll come forward and have a seat on the witness stand, and before you sit down, if you'll raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. Mr. McCormick, go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Burrows, when you're seated and comfortable, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Jerry Burrows. It's Burroughs.
All right. And turning your attention to October of 2021, were you employed with the Greeley Police Department?
I was.
All right. And how long were you with the Greeley Police Department?
Just under 12 years with them and 13 years total of law enforcement experience.
Have you since left the Greeley Police Department?
I have.
And have you relocated out of state?
Yes.
All right. And how long have you been gone from the Greeley Police Department?
Over a year.
Now, during October of 2021, were you assigned to any particular divisions within the Greeley Police Department?
Yes, I was assigned to investigations.
And what are the primary duties and responsibilities as a detective with the investigations unit?
Primarily, it's to assist patrol with bigger investigations, things that are more complex or take more time. We get assigned cases that we have to go through, or we're called out to scenes if we're on call or if there's more resources that are needed for patrol.
Were you employed with the Greeley Police Department on October 3rd of 2021?
I was.
And on that date, did you become involved in an investigation of a Stacy Rodriguez and Hosanna Varela?
I did.
Do you see Stacy Rodriguez in the courtroom today?
I do. She's seated to my right. She's wearing a green shirt and black pants.
So what happened on October 3rd of 2021 that you were contacted in regards to this defendant?
I was contacted by Sergeant Smith about 6:40 a.m. He said that there was a fire and that a body had been found inside, somebody was deceased inside of the residence.
And do you recall what the address was for where that fire occurred?
Yeah, 2413 15th Avenue Court.
And that's in Greeley, Weld County, state of Colorado?
Yes.
Did you initially respond to that scene?
No, I initially went to the police department to begin authorizing a search warrant.
Now, through the course of your investigation, were you able to determine who the owner of that particular residence was?
Yes, it was Christopher Dickerson.
All right. Now, about how long were you at the police department?
Until later that evening, around, I think I went to the scene around 5:39 p.m. or later that evening.
All right. Do you recall when you got there what the residence looked like?
Yeah, it was damaged. It was charred. It was obvious that a fire had taken place and damaged most of the residents.
Who else was on scene, if you recall?
Yeah, it was fire personnel and then personnel from the Greeley Police Department.
Now, when you initially got there, what did you do once you got to the scene?
Well, when I got to the scene, I walked the residence, and as we were there, we're making game plan about extending the search warrant into the next day because it was getting dark and we wanted to take our time. Around that time, I was approached by Christopher's roommate.
All right. Did you also have an opportunity to do what's called a neighborhood canvass?
Yes.
What is that?
Neighborhood canvass is essentially when officers spread out and they begin talking to neighbors. We're looking for any eyewitnesses to what took place, but we're also looking for digital evidence, specifically surveillance footage that could aid us in what took place.
So to be clear, in your initial phases of an investigation, you talked to a lot of people?
Yes.
Did that include the responding patrol officers,
Yes.
fire personnel,
Yes.
neighbors,
Yes.
anybody you can talk to get information?
Yes, and then we usually do it multiple times. In this case with the neighbors, we went back and spoke to them on multiple occasions.
After October 3rd of 2021?
Yeah.
Were you aware if the body of Mr. Dickerson was recovered and taken to the coroner's office?
I was, yes.
And through your investigation, were you provided information that, in regards to the autopsy of Mr. Dickerson?
I was.
So were you aware of the injuries sustained by Mr. Dickerson?
I was.
Were you made aware that there was a metal object protruding from his neck?
Yes.
Did you have an occasion to also review the coroner's report to find out cause and manner?
Yes.
What, from that standpoint forward, what did you do then?
So after we learned that it was indeed a homicide, we then began gathering video surveillance, gathering phone records, and trying to piece together what actually took place at the residence.
Is it fair to say that during your investigation of this case, you had an opportunity to review several hundred hours of video surveillance?
Yes.
Did that include the neighborhood of 2413th, 15th Avenue Court?
It did.
Did that include the downtown area of Greeley?
Yes.
Did that include multiple establishments of downtown Greeley?
Yes.
Did that also include at some point phone records?
Yes.
During the course of your investigation, did you also obtain or seek records of phone records, Facebook, things of that nature?
Yes, a multitude of every type of digital evidence that I could get or documents.
And through your investigation, were you able to review those videos and also take still shots,
Yes.
photographs?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to hand you a number of packets, photographs first.
Okay.
I'm going to hand you a number of packets of photographs. All right. We'll start with 52 through 93,
Okay.
95 through 130, 139 and 140, 171 and 172,
Okay.
174, 175,
Okay.
178 through 186, 195, 211,
Okay.
213 through 260.
Okay.
Mr. McCormick, that last one, 213 through 216 or?
216.
All right, go ahead.
So prior to your testimony today, did you have an opportunity to review all of those particular exhibits?
I did, yes.
Are you familiar with those exhibits?
I am.
Would those exhibits assist you in relaying to the jury what your investigation entailed starting from October 3rd, 2021?
Yes, they would.
Do those photographs depict accurately what you observed through your investigation, both through surveillance videos and the production of records?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move into evidence People's 52 through 93, 95 through 106.
I'm sorry, 95 through 106.
Yes. 108 through 130. 139 and 140. 171 and 172. 174 and 175. 178 through 186. 195. 211. And 213 through 216.
All right, thank you. Any objection from the defense?
Yes, we maybe have heard.
Yes, please. Can you bring up the pictures?
There is a lot of approaching in this trial. So if you're new and you haven't watched the other days, just know that now, because, yeah, they definitely do it quite a bit. Jeffrey, were you being sarcastic with her looking terrified? I mean, there she is smiling. She's been smiling since she got in the courtroom, so I'm assuming you were being sarcastic. Sometimes I really don't know what defendants are thinking when they are acting like this in the courtroom. The jury is there, and even so, no one's talking. They will glance over and observe them. And here she is. From the second she came in, she was smiling on and off at different times. And that is not great considering that this is a murder trial. And her attorney should stop it. She's supposed to testify against her, yeah. Oh, well,
All right,
welcome.
thank you. The court will admit into evidence states 52 through 93, 95 through 106, 108 through 130, 139, 140, 171, 172, 174, 175, 178 through 186, 195, 211, and 213 through 216. Mr. McCormick, did I get those accurately labeled?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will admit those into the record, and you may publish where appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the bigger channels chats, they can turn bad very fast just because there's so many people on there. I try to make sure that everyone's being nice to everybody in the chat here. But I really haven't had any
Through
issues in the
course of your
chats.
investigation, did you also work to secure certain records such as phone records,
Yes.
as Facebook records and social media records?
Correct.
All right. All right. So I'm going to break this up a little bit. I'm going to just a minute. Okay. Hand you a packet of DVDs, marked Peoples 94, 189, 190, 192, 193, and 194. Again, prior to your testimony today, have you had an opportunity to review those items?
I have.
And do your initials appear on those DVDs
They do.
and the date that you reviewed those?
It does.
And were those pursuant to court orders that you had requested and received that information?
They are.
Your Honor, at this time pursuant to 902.11, the people would enter into evidence People's number 94.
Any objection to 94?
No, thank you.
All right, the court will admit into evidence states 94. And Mr. McCormick, if you give me just a second.
Sure.
And you may publish at your discretion.
Okay. We'd also move into evidence 189.
Any objection to 189?
No, thank you.
All right, the court will admit into evidence 189.
190.
Any objection to 190?
Your Honor, I don't have any objection to any of these.
To any of 189?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right. And Mr. McCormick, are you admitting all of them at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right, then the court will admit into evidence 189, 190, 192, 193, and 194.
Okay. I'm going to hand you two additional DVDs, clips, well, 2B through 2G and 3A through 3G. You recognize those items?
I do.
Right, and prior to your testimony today, did you have an opportunity to review those items as well?
I did.
Do they accurately reflect what you observed in your investigation through video surveillance?
They do.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd move into evidence exhibits 2B through 2G and 3A through 3G.
All right, thank you. Any objection?
No, thank you.
All right, the court will admit those designated exhibits into evidence.
All right. I'm going to show you what our aerial maps. This is Peoples 176,
Okay.
and this is Peoples 177.
Okay.
Recognize both of those?
I do.
Are they accurate Google Maps of the locations in question?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm moving to evidence 176 and 177.
Any objection to 176 or 177?
May we approach, please?
Sure.
Usually the jail will have some direction or guidance from the judge. The judge can rule on if they're allowed to wear street clothes or if they can't, if they need to be shackled in any way. If they had a preference of how they were actually restrained, like if they didn't want the jury to be able to see it and make it so obvious, so they would use only ankles instead of hands. So yeah, it's really just a back and forth conversation between the jail and the judge. And obviously her attorneys can make requests, but the judge will deny or grant and then tell the jail.
Are you familiar with those records?
I am.
And can you just briefly explain how those records operate when you get them?
When we get records back from phone companies, each phone company is different. They're all proprietary. They basically give us a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, and then they give us guides to help us understand and interpret what those Excel spreadsheets say, essentially.
Does that provide for you both phone numbers in terms of communications with others?
Yes.
Does it also provide any type of location?
Potentially, it just depends on if it was captured at the time.
All right. So based upon this information and your understanding that Mr. Dickerson was downtown, what did you do with that information?
At that point, we went and grabbed surveillance footage from that area or any other evidence we could find.
Okay. Are you familiar with a location or an establishment named Roasties?
I am.
All right. Did you go to Roasties initially in your investigation?
We did, yes.
And what did you gather or learn from Roasties?
We learned that they had a video surveillance system, an internal one and then an external one as well.
All right. Now, fair to say that you gathered as much video as you could from downtown establishments on that particular night?
Yes, as much as we could actually find and gather, we did.
All right. That included Roasties.
Correct.
Did that include an establishment called The Box?
It did. Well, yes, it did.
What about Millennium Event Center?
Yes,
Patrick's Irish Pub?
yes,
Points West Bank?
yes,
Warm Hugs, Mixes and Gifts Boutique?
yes,
477 Distilling?
yes,
The Downtown Developmental Authority?
yes,
I'm going to mispronounce this, but is it the La Tarahumara Market?
yes,
Okay. And then a Subway.
yes,
Now, you're familiar with these locations?
I am.
Essentially, where are they all located?
Essentially from 7th Street to 11th Street, in between 8th and 9th Avenue.
And is that just across from the courthouse here?
It is.
So at this point, you had neighborhood video surveillance
Yes.
and downtown video surveillance.
Yes, we first had neighborhood video surveillance, and it took us a couple days before we got all the downtown video surveillance.
All right. In regards to the neighborhood of the 15th Avenue Court neighborhood, we'll show you what's already been entered as people's number 148. Do you recognize that?
I do, yes.
And what is that?
That's just an aerial map of the 15th Avenue Court residence, and it also highlights where the surveillance systems were located on that on the map and in that neighborhood.
And were you able to obtain video surveillance from a 2436 15th Avenue Court?
We were.
And where is that? I know there's a pointer up there, if that
Yeah.
helps.
So 2436 is on the corner. It's going to be on the southeast corner of 15th Avenue Court, so it's right there.
And this is a cul-de-sac type neighborhood?
It is.
All right, so in and out is right by 2436?
Yes, there's only one way in and out.
All right, and then 2406?
2406 is right here, and it has the best view of almost directly across the street from 2413 15th Avenue Court, which is the victim's residence.
And then lastly, you reviewed video from 2405 15th Avenue Court?
Yeah, this was a ring video, so it kind of captured most of the street and the front kind of yard and front side view of the residence.
So when you began this initial review of the neighborhood surveillance, were you able to determine whether or not Mr. Dickerson had left the area and at a particular time?
I did, yes.
All right, so 11:56 p.m. on October 2nd, 2021, what were you able to observe?
I saw Mr. Dickerson's vehicle leave a little bit earlier. He was in the neighborhood for a while, and eventually he left at that time onto 25th Street. I believe he turned east onto 25th Street.
If I could have just a minute.
Sure.
I apologize, just a little housekeeping. All right, can we publish 2A, please? And if you can look at the monitor, and there's a couple things. You might have to pause for a second. Can you tell us what we're looking at on 2A? 2A is an Adam?
Yes.
So what are we looking at here?
So this is 2436 15th Avenue Court. This is essentially showing 15th Avenue Court is right in front of it, and you can kind of see a portion of 25th Street. Just something to note, and this is for all video surveillance, it's hard to get accurate times because every system has a little bit different time. So we're able to go through and say, okay, some are a couple minutes off, some were like an hour prior. And for this instance, with 2436, it's about 6 minutes off from what I saw in the neighborhood. But essentially what you're going to see is Mr. Dickerson's Hyundai Elantra. He had a 2018 blue Hyundai Elantra, just traveling past the camera and then turning onto 25th Street.
And you noted the time frame difference. So in this particular video, is that 6 minutes fast?
Approximately, yes.
All right, go ahead. So in continuing your review of neighborhood video at approximately 2:16 a.m., what were your observations?
So at 2:16 a.m., I saw Mr. Dickerson's Hyundai Elantra return back onto that camera view onto 15th Avenue Court. And then I saw was a silver sedan, which we later identified as between a 2008 to 2012 Chevrolet Malibu.
Right.
And it was following Mr. Dickerson's Elantra.
So if we could publish 2B as in boy. And again, is the time still the 6 minutes off?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay.
So this will be the Hyundai Elantra. That's Christopher's vehicle. And then it'll be followed by the silver sedan.
And if we could publish 100. And what are we looking at here?
That's Mr. Christopher's Hyundai Elantra.
And that was a still shot taken from that video?
Yes.
All right. 101, please.
And that's, again, a still shot from that video of the silver sedan, which we later identified as the Malibu.
All right. So you knew at 2:16 a.m. he had returned with another vehicle.
Yes.
If we could publish 3A as in Adam.
So this is a shot from 2406 15th Avenue Court, and you'll see it's dark now, but you'll see it'll show the front of Christopher's residence, and you're going to see Christopher's Hyundai Elantra pull into the driveway and then into the garage, and then the silver Malibu will pull into the driveway of Christopher's residence. So that was Christopher's Hyundai Elantra. And then you're going to see a figure walk out towards the Malibu, who I believe that is at the time Mr. Dickerson. And he's going to stand at the driver's side of the vehicle.
And what are we observing here?
It appears that the doors to the Malibu open. The lights turn off, obviously, on the exterior of the Malibu, and then you can see movement around the passenger side and then the driver's side, which I interpret to be that people are getting out of the Malibu. And you can see at the top there's figures walking past the light, and it's difficult to see though. And then if you see the white kind of streak, that is Christopher's dog, Juna, that's walking around. He had a white dog. And again, you can see movement towards the top right of the screen, which is near the garage. I believe that's the end of that.
All right. And then if we could publish for A as in Adam, please.
This is a ring video showing essentially what we just saw, just from a different angle. That's Christopher's Elantra pulling in. And then that'll be followed by the Malibu.
And then if we could publish number 102. And what do we see here?
That's just a still shot from 2406 15th Avenue Court of the Malibu pulling into the driveway.
All right. And then number 103, please.
And that's just who I believe to be Christopher standing near the Malibu.
Okay, thank you. So continuing your review of those particular videos that you had observed in this thing, did you notice something at about 2:43 a.m.?
I did, yes.
And what was that?
At 2:43 a.m., you see figures exit the residence, and at least one person moves the Malibu from the driveway to in front of the house.
All
And
right.
then from there, there's more movement outside, and eventually everybody gets into Christopher's, at least 3 people get into Christopher's Elantra, and they leave.
All right, if we could publish 3B as in boy.
And this is just the same 2406, just pulled back a little bit, and you'll see the Malibu being moved right now. So you can saw a head near the driver's door, and then movement up near the garage, just in front of the Malibu.
All right. And then there's a couple of minutes of movement during that time.
Well, during that time, actually, the Malibu's stationary there, and there's not much going on in the driveway. It sat there for a couple minutes, not very long.
Okay, if we could publish 3C as in Charlie.
Now is where you're going to see a figure walk down to the Malibu from the driveway. And you'll see the interaction at the driver's side door. And then you'll see eventually, they'll kind of be around the Malibu for a second. And then you're going to see the Elantra pull out of the garage. And then you'll see both figures walk towards the Elantra. So one goes to the driver's side and one stays on the passenger side, and it's difficult to see. From what I observed, the front passenger door opens and then it'll be closed. And then that figure moves towards the rear passenger door. And so the rear passenger door closed. There's still somebody on the driver's side. It appears around this time you can see the door close and they get in.
Right.
And then the Elantra will back out. Eventually.
And from that video review, were you able to take some screenshots of that?
I was, yes.
If I could publish 104, please. And what are we looking at here?
That's the figure that you see walking to the Malibu when the last clip started.
Okay.
I couldn't see faces throughout this whole video. I can't see faces. I can't always tell clothing, but what I can tell at times is it appears that clothing is darker than others, and then that they might have lighter colored shoes. And that's about the only thing I can make out was the clothing seemed darker, and it seemed like the shoes might have been lighter.
105, please.
That's still just the same figure standing near the driver's door of the Malibu.
And 106, please.
Again, now you can see both figures. I'm able just to tell from these general shots the body shape of the individuals, that they appear to be somewhat similar in height. But other than that, it's pretty difficult to make out anything else.
So after you observed them leaving, did you also review the security camera footage from the 2436 15th Avenue Court?
Yes.
Could we play 2C as in Charlie, please?
And again, this is going to show essentially after Christopher's Elantra pulls out of the driveway, it's going to show that vehicle leaving.
Now, through your, hold on. Through your investigation, were you able to kind of track the car's movements at that time after it left the neighborhood?
At that time, when I initially reviewed video, not there, but I did receive video later of downtown, which helped me.
Okay, and was that from roughly around 2:54, that is it Terra Humera?
Yeah.
Market timestamp or marketplace?
Yes.
All right, could we publish 178, please? And what did you observe there?
I've seen Mr. Dickerson's Elantra, and that is it. Essentially, it made a U-turn from 8th Avenue from 8th Avenue at 11th Street and then back heading. This is going to be southbound on 8th Avenue.
All right. And then tracking, again, that surveillance of the neighborhood at 3:07 a.m., what did you observe?
That's when the Elantra heads back to Mr. Dickerson's residence and then pulls into the driveway and ultimately the garage.
If we could publish 2 D as in David, please.
So this is going to be 2436. This is the corner house video surveillance. You're going to see the Elantra eventually go by the camera, which would be north on 15th Avenue Court. And that's the Elantra now.
And then if we could publish 4B as in boy.
And this is the ring video from 2405, essentially showing the same thing. It appears to me, from what I hear, it sounds like the music is very loud inside of the vehicle. And I think that's it. There's nothing else
Okay.
that's shown.
So, in your investigation and reviewing the phone records of Mr. Dickerson around that time, which has been previously admitted as people's basically 213 through 216, did you notice something of significance about that particular time frame?
Yeah, what I noted was that he was receiving phone calls and making phone calls prior to them leaving. I later identified that phone number that he's calling as Dolores Vigil, and I believe after they come back, there's at least one phone call between them as well.
Right. So continuing your review of the neighborhood video surveillance from roughly 4:09 a.m. to 4:11 a.m., did you observe the front door of Mr. Dickerson residence open and figures walking about?
Yeah, it was actually from 4:09 to about 4:16 a.m. You see approximately it looks like 3 figures total. It's difficult to see in the video. You can tell kind of the difference between body shapes and height, that I can determine that there's 3 people. They seem just to kind of sit on the front stoop of the door or near the door. You can see Christopher's dog, Juno, walking about, and they're out there for that approximate 7 minutes before they walk back inside.
All right. And then, again, in reviewing this at 5:08 a.m., did you observe anything initial with Mr. Dickerson's front door?
Yes, the front door opens. That you see a figure that's backlit. You see a large figure that's backlit, and you see them walk out of the house and get into the front driver's door of the Malibu.
All right. And roughly at about 5:11 a.m., are you able to observe movement of the vehicle?
No, around 5:11 a.m., what I actually see is around that time is the door opens again. You see a second larger figure walk out of the residence and then go to what appears to be the passenger side of the Malibu. and then the Malibu leaves the neighborhood going south on 15th Avenue Court.
Okay. Let's publish 3D as in David, please.
So the door is actually already kind of ajar. You'll see figure walk out. You saw the light at the front, so I think they walked past the front of the vehicle because it was covered for a second, and this is the driver's door that's being opened. And then you'll see the lights turn on, which illuminates the front of the residence.
And based upon your review, does that the car stay like that for some time?
Yeah, it's from around 5:08 to 5:11, 5:12, so several minutes it's like this.
All right. If we could publish 2E as in Edward,
I
please.
think we'll want to stay on this because it'll show the continuation of everything.
Okay.
This is a very long pause by the state. Jeffrey, are you wanting to see the photos of before, during, and after the fire? Because I have some of them. I can put them up on break.
So the lights turn off, and then shortly after that, you'll see a second figure walk out. And it's difficult to see, obviously, because it's so dark, but you'll see the passenger door open, and you'll see a figure get into the front passenger seat, and the Malibu will then drive away.
And based upon your review of that particular video, did they ever turn their lights or any headlights on at that time?
Not at that time. It wasn't until they neared 25th Street that they were turned on.
All right. If we could publish 2E as in Edward, please.
So what you're going to see is this is the corner video surveillance 2436. You'll see the Malibu coming, lights off, and then lights will eventually turn on. Well, I think it's just brake lights at this point, and a turn signal. And then they turn east on 25th Street.
And were you able to capture still shots from this moment of surveillance as well?
I was.
If we could publish 108, please.
And that's just a close-up of the Malibu as it went past that 2436 residence.
And this was leaving the area at approximately 5:12 a.m.?
Approximately, yes.
All right. And then continuing your review of neighborhood video surveillance at about 5:24, did you see video indicating that Malibu vehicle came back?
I did.
All right. And what were your observations for the next, what we'll call the next couple minutes on that?
So the Malibu returns to the residence, parks essentially in the same spot in front. And then one figure gets out, walks into the residence. After a short time, you see a bright light come from the front window, the bay window. And then this is like a couple minute time frame, then that figure walks out of the residence and then gets back into the passenger side of the Malibu, and then the Malibu leaves.
So if we could publish 2F as in Frank, please.
So this is the corner. And this should be the Malibu coming on 25th Street. It was headed east. It's going to turn north on 15th Avenue Court. And it's on its way to Christopher's residence.
We could publish 109, please.
And that's just a still shot of the vehicle returning of the Malibu from that same camera angle.
If you publish 4C as in Charlie, please.
So this is the ring video from 2405. It's going to show the Malibu coming. It makes a U-turn, and then it parks and is stationary in front of Christopher's residence. And then you'll see a figure walking in. You can see movement right there. And up towards Christopher's residence. I think that's it. It doesn't show anything else.
If we could publish 3E as in Edward, please.
And there's a little bit of time before you'll actually see anything. And again, reminder, you're going to see the Malibu coming and then parking in front of Christopher's residence. And then you'll have a little bit. It's really dark without the lights, so you'll kind of see intermittent somebody walking towards the house, and then it's going to be on the house for a while, and you're going to see the bright light coming from the bay window before somebody eventually walks out of the residence. They're going to be backlit by the light that's inside of the house, and you'll see them walk back towards the Malibu, and it'll leave. So you'll eventually see somebody get out of the Malibu. Right there. You'll see them walking up, and of course it's very dark, so it's hard to see, but you're going to see the front door open. And a person walking in and shutting the door.
And based upon your review of the time on the video, approximately how long does that individual stay in there before exiting again?
It's several minutes. I think it was around 5:27 or 5:28, where I think 5:27 you see the glow of the light in the bay window, but it's a couple minutes that it's like this. There's the flash from the bay window.
Your Honor, can you please pause this and approach?
Sure. Do you need to approach?
The front door is open. See a figure exit. And then they're going to make their walk down towards the Malibu. You can see it's still a large figure. And they stay on the passenger side. And then what you're seeing is it appears that the fire is already started and growing inside of the residence.
And then if we could publish 110, please.
So this is that same 2436. This is just a still shot of the Malibu leaving after the fire was started.
All right. If we could publish 2, G as in Gordon.
And this will be the video of the Malibu leaving. And it's going to go west on 25th Street.
And through your investigation, were you aware of approximately what time this was called in to 911?
I was, yes.
What was that?
I think it was about 10 minutes after the fact, after around 5:33 in the morning, if I'm right.
So once you conducted your review of the neighborhood surveillance, then did you go to the downtown area and begin reviewing the videos there?
Yeah, I did, yes.
And from those videos, were you able to get still shots as well?
I was, yes.
So you had previously testified that at approximately 11:56 p.m., Mr. Dickerson left his residence and went to the downtown area.
Yes.
So at approximately, backing up again, right, at 12:08 a.m., were you able to track his movements?
I was.
If we could publish number 58, please. And if you want to use a pointer, that would help. What are we looking at here?
So that's Christopher just arriving at the box.
And are you aware of how, from being able to track his movements, were you aware how long he stayed at the box?
I think I'd have to go to the next exhibit to tell the exact
Okay.
time.
And
It was
then,
it wasn't very long.
if we could publish 59, please.
doesn't help me with time. He was in there for about 15 or 20 minutes.
All right. And
If that was 12:09, yeah, about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes.
where is he located on this?
So Christopher's standing right here, and what you'll see in the video is he exits the box and he stands over here, and it looks like he smokes a cigarette, and then he walks west from that, or east from that location.
Okay. Now at 12:34 a.m., what did you observe in regards to any particular vehicle that was entering the parking lot near Cubetta's?
So at this point in the investigation, I know that we've narrowed it down, that we believe we're looking for a 2008 to 2012 Chevrolet Malibu that's silver. And I'm looking for two people that are in it, two females that are larger in figure. So that's what I'm looking for in this downtown video. And that's what I observed is a silver Malibu pull into the Cubetta's parking lot and eventually park. And then I track the movements and I see two larger figures that are approximately the same height walking towards Cubetta's.
If we could publish 179, please.
So this is the Malibu entering an alley that's connected to 9th Avenue, and this is directly across the street from here. And you're going to see it pull in. It goes up the aisle right here, and then it reverses, and then it goes up here, and it eventually backs into a parking spot.
We could publish 61.
That's the Chevrolet Malibu. Already on this video, I'm noticing the same characteristics of the Malibu that I saw at the residence. Mainly the 5-spoke rims, the color, and then the dark tinted windows.
Number 62, please.
And that's just the vehicle now reversing.
And number 63.
This is a black and white. It's the same system, but it's a different camera. And you'll see up here that this is the Malibu now backing into a parking spot.
So are you, in your review of this, kind of simultaneously tracking both the Malibu and its occupants and Mr. Dickerson?
Yes.
So at 12:35 a.m., do you observe any video of Mr. Dickerson down by Patrick's Irish Pub?
I do.
If we could publish number 60, please.
So this is Patrick's, this is 8th Avenue right here, and this is Christopher walking south on 8th Avenue.
Now, at some point after that 12:35 a.m., do you kind of lose sight of Mr. Dickerson for a bit?
Yeah, I did for approximately 10 minutes. I didn't know where he went.
Okay. And while you weren't sure where he was, were you able to track the movements of the Malibu and the occupants of that?
I was.
If we could publish number 64. So at approximately 12:41 a.m., what do you notice here?
So I'm able to track through the movements. There's not a lot of people in the parking lot at this time, so I'm able to see some figures' feet step out of the Malibu, and then I'm tracking the movements of where they're walking, and I pick up these two individuals. Right away, I notice that they are about the same height, and also their body demographic, the size and shape of them, and I see them walking towards the back of Cubetta's.
And about a minute later, if we could have published 65, please.
So right up here, the video shows them interacting with a security guard right here. What you'll see is this individual has a brown shirt on. She has dark kind of at the top of her hair, and then it goes into lighter blonde. And then the other individual is wearing all black, and there's some lettering on the left side of her shirt.
Number 66, please.
Eventually, they were not let into the back fenced area, and you see them walking away towards that same alley is where they're going to go.
And number 67, please.
So you see them kind of right before they disappear into that alley heading towards 9th Avenue.
Right. Now, were you able through, again, your review of the downtown multiple videos that you had, look through video of Points West Bank?
I was.
And at that point, did you see two similar individuals walking by Points West Bank?
I did.
If we could look at 68, please.
So Points West Bank is when you go out onto 9th Avenue, you're going to go south on 9th Avenue. It's at the corner of essentially 10th Street and, 9th Avenue and 10th Street, yes. So this is them walking south on 9th Avenue. And what I see here is I see the same similar height individuals, and I also see the same size shape
And was there, again, pointing out any time discrepancies? Is there a discrepancy that you learned from this particular video?
Yeah, the cameras, the time is off. I think it's a little bit earlier than what we observed just previous, but I was able to, when I didn't have correct timestamps, I would then track movements. So I would see somebody leave an area, look at the next camera, watch an hour or two of video, see them pick up again, and know that just based off the location, it probably wasn't very long before they went from one camera to the next camera.
And if we could publish 69, please.
So this is Points West Bank again. It's difficult to see, but when you watch the video, you can see that this individual right here, who's wearing all black, has their hair in a bun and they're wearing a visor. And then you can see the lighter hair of the second individual just beyond them.
Number 70, please.
So
Okay, here.
you'll see the white shoes of the individual that's wearing all black. And you can see right here, and I've watched this video many times, you'll see that there's just white, like a white box. And I saw that consistently with the front shirt of this individual.
And 71, please.
Now you'll see the hair, the visor, hair in a bun visor, see the white shoes, and then you see lettering. And I could only really read the first three, and it said CAL. And I didn't know if that potentially was California or something similar to that.
All right. And likewise, you're reviewing surveillance for Mr. Dickerson at approximately 12:46. Did you observe him near the Cubetta's rear entry?
And if I could just back up and just add one thing to this.
I object to narrative.
I'll sustain the objection, Mr. McCormick, if you want to ask that.
Was there anything in addition you wanted to mention in regards to People 71?
Yes, this is now 10th Street, and they're walking east, and they're heading towards the front entrance of Cubetta's.
Okay. So you were able to track Mr. Dickerson's movements at around 12:46 a.m. to Cubetta's?
Yes.
And if we could have number 72, please. And what we're looking at here?
So this is the rear entrance to Cubetta's. And you see right here, that's, I can tell it's Christopher based off of what he's wearing. And he's talking what looks like a security guard.
And number 73.
And I tracked his movement. He's led into the back area, and you can see his light colored jeans as he's walking into the rear of Cubetta's.
All right. Just a minute, Judge. All right. Now, in regards to, what exhibit is that? 73. Okay, thank you. And in regards to, again, simultaneously tracking the movements of the other two individuals at 12:51, did you see them come out of Cubetta's in the rear exit?
I did, yes.
All right. If we could have People's number 74, please.
So this is very difficult to see, and it's very kind of a distorted image up there, but I was able to watch it over and over again, and I saw the individual wearing all black.
Bolstering.
All right, I'll overrule the objection.
Sorry. As I watched this video, I saw the two same figures, one dressed in all black and one wearing a brown shirt in this area for a couple minutes, and what you're going to see is the one wearing the brown shirt exit the rear area and then walk back towards the Malibu.
All right. Number 75, please.
So from the video, what I saw was they exited, this individual exited, walked to the Malibu, got in the front driver's door of the Malibu, the lights turned on for approximately a minute, and then they exit the Malibu, and this is them returning back towards the rear of Cubetta's.
And during, at approximately 1:13 a.m., did you observe Mr. Dickerson near the rear entrance of the Cubetta's?
I did.
And if we could publish 76, please. Now, were you able to determine if Mr. Dickerson was inside the Cubetta's establishment?
Yes.
And were you, at some point in your investigation, given videos from patrons inside that had recorded that?
Yes.
All right. So, did you have an opportunity to meet with a Miss Flores at the Cubetta Bar?
I did.
And who is she?
She's an employee of the establishment.
Did you meet with a Mario Carrasco as well?
I did.
And who is that?
He's the owner of Cubetta's.
From your understanding, is that establishment still in business downtown?
I don't believe it is.
Did they provide you with, I'm going to call it phone video from inside the Cubetta's that evening?
They did because they didn't have video surveillance.
All right. I'm going to hand you what has been marked as papers 209.
And Mr. McCormick will stipulate to these.
Okay. 209 and 210, Judge, those have been stipulated to?
209 and 210, all right. And Ms. Devereaux, is that right?
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, I will then admit by stipulation 209 and 210 into the record.
All right, so permission to publish 209?
Yes, you may publish when appropriate.
So when you reviewed this particular video, were you able to recognize that individual?
Yeah, I believed it was Christopher based off the clothing and then his height as well, too.
And when you observed that video, what did you observe Mr. Dickerson doing?
It looks like he's standing there.
All right, go ahead and play the rest of it. And then if we could publish 210, please. All right. And based upon that, were you, and your observations of Mr. Dickerson, was that him inside?
I believe so, yes.
Is there anybody else around him at the time that you observed?
Just people standing in front of him.
All right. And then were you able to track Mr. Dickerson's movements when he left that Cubetta's?
I was.
And was that approximately 1:32 in the morning?
It was.
And if we could have published, please, 77.
So what you're going to see here is Christopher standing near, just outside of the gated area of Cubetta's. And then you're going to, in video surveillance, I see him begin walking east through the parking lot.
78, please.
So this is him. This is Roasty's now, video surveillance, and this is directly in front of the establishment. This is 8th Avenue right here, and that's Christopher arriving at the establishment. He stands outside, I think, and smokes a cigarette for a couple minutes before he goes inside.
And then number 52.
Again, that's Christopher right there.
So based upon your review of this surveillance today, was his clothing fairly distinctive that night?
Yes.
And are you aware of what his shirt says on there?
Yeah, it says straight out of Fox.
Right. And you were able to track a dark T-shirt and I guess some light blue jeans?
Yes, and then
Your Honor, can I object and reapproach, please?
Sure.
They're getting close to their break. So when they go on break, I will be switching over to do the Monica Cementelli trial. And then we will finish up this trial with the part 2 later today, which should go pretty quick. Get to skip through all their breaks.
Okay. So at approximately 1:37, did you note if Mr. Dickerson was inside Roasties?
I did.
All right. And during that time, did he appear to interact with any individuals?
He did, yes.
All right. If we could have people's number 79, please.
So this is Christopher seated at the bar. You see in the video that he looks like he orders a drink and then he begins drinking it as he's seated there.
People's 80.
So I identified this individual that he's hugging as Dolores V. Hill. There is an interaction between them, and I think as we continue, I can point out what that is.
81.
So Dolores has Christopher's phone at this point, and she begins manipulating his phone. And she has it for quite a bit of time as they're talking to each other.
People's number 53.
Again, that's Dolores V. Hill.
All right. And through the course of your investigation, were you able to secure her phone records?
I was.
So when you had mentioned previously in your testimony about when reviewing both Mr. Dickerson's phone records and her phone records at approximately between 2:45 and 3:15 in the morning when they left Mr. Dickerson's, is that the phone number that was being contacted?
Yes.
All right. If we could have 180, please. And what do we see here?
So eventually, Dolores leaves. Let me get the pointer. So Dolores meets up with a group. That's Pete Valdez, and they begin talking. And at this point, Christopher is no longer really engaging with the group when he's inside.
If we could have 181, please. So at approximately 1:48 a.m., what did you observe?
Christopher walks into the rear of Roasties and then turns around and then walks back towards the front.
182.
So Christopher then exits Roasties and he begins smoking a cigarette.
If we could have people's 82, please.
Eventually, after a couple minutes, Dolores V. Hill exits Roasties and then they meet back up again and they hug.
And number 83.
Now Christopher is interacting with Pete Valdez and giving him a hug.
While you, again, were observing this, you're simultaneously tracking the two other individuals at 2 o'clock in the morning. Did you notice them around the rear part of Cubetas?
I did.
All right. And if we could have 84, please. What are we looking at here?
So you're seeing they first exited into the fence patio area. They're back there for several minutes, and then they exit and they begin walking back towards the Malibu. This is a female dressed all in black with the white shoes and the visor and the bun, and this is the individual female that's wearing the brown shirt and the jeans with the kind of blondish highlighted hair.
All right. Number 85.
So there's people filtering in and out of the bar, and I was able to track their movements. And what you see is somebody with all black, and I was able to see that they had at least white shoes on. And this is the Malibu right there, and you see them get into the driver's side of that vehicle, and you saw another individual get into the passenger side of that vehicle.
And based upon your review of videos from the downtown, video surveillance systems from downtown, were you able to track the movements of the Malibu as it left?
I was.
If we could have people's 180, I'm sorry, I can't see that. What is that? You have 183 up there now? Oh, okay, 183, sorry.
Oh, again, this is just right before the person got to right here in the Malibu. You see their figure right there as well.
All right, if we could publish people's 86, please.
So this is Warm Hugs surveillance system, and it shows 8th Avenue right here, and it's more of the east side of that parking lot, and you see. So right there is the Malibu moving east through the parking lot.
If we could have People's 87, please.
So here's the Malibu right here, and now at this time, Christopher's crossed 8th Avenue, is walking west through the parking lot.
88, please.
It's Christopher walking near the Malibu and looking towards the window, or the passenger area, I should
Is
say.
there anything about People's 88 that further caught your attention?
Well, distinctly, I knew it was Christopher, that, and then just the color and the shape of the vehicle.
Okay. Number 89.
So this is Christopher having a very short, looks like interaction. He nods his head up and down with this side of the Malibu. I can't tell for sure if the window's rolled down, but it looks like it is, before he continues west through the parking lot.
All right. If we could publish 185, please. Or excuse me, 184. I'm sorry.
So I retrieved video surveillance, and I was able to track the movements of the Malibu after it left the parking lot of Cubetas. It went south on 8th Avenue before it turned west on 11th Street, and this is La Taramara Market, and then that's the Malibu turning left, and it's going west on 11th Street.
185. And what do we see here?
This is Subway's video surveillance. It's now going north on 9th Avenue.
Number 186. And what do we see here?
This is Points West Bank, showing it still going north on 9th Avenue, and I'm able to confirm it's the same vehicle based on the dark tinted windows, the color of the vehicle, and then also the rims.
People's 90. And what does this photo depict?
These cameras are owned and operated by the Downtown Developmental Authority, and this is right near the Rio. You see Christopher walking north along 9th Avenue on the east side of the sidewalk.
People's 91.
Same camera, but now you can see the reflection of the Malibu as it's following the same path as Christopher.
And People's 92.
This is 477 Distilling. You can see Christopher walking north on 9th Avenue as he goes past the establishment.
And then People's number 93.
And this is still 477 Distilling. You can see the Malibu, same rims, same vehicle following the same path as Christopher.
All right. And then did this kind of bring you back at 2:16 a.m. to the neighborhood surveillance system showing the vehicles returning to Mr. Dickerson's residence?
Yes.
All right. Now, at some point during your investigation, were you contacted by Mr. Alan Dickerson?
I was.
And who is Mr. Alan Dickerson?
Excuse me. That's the father of Christopher.
And was he able to provide you with some, was he able to provide you with Christopher Dickerson's Google account location information?
Yes.
And did he eventually give you full access to Mr. Dickerson's Google account to include the location information?
He did.
And that has been previously entered into evidence as People's number 202.
Yes.
All right. Now, did you have an opportunity to review that location information, that CD that's been entered into evidence?
Yes.
All right. Now, what were you able to learn from reviewing the location information?
I was able to determine Christopher's movements earlier in the night, which lined up with the video surveillance I saw downtown. And then I was also to determine his movements at around the house, and then also the movements that lined up with the video. And then when something of note is when the Malibu left at 5:11 a.m., Christopher's phone location left as well.
All right. If we could publish People's 111, please. So what are we looking at here?
So when the Malibu left at around 5:11, 5:12 a.m., this is a Google location showing that Christopher's phone left at the same time. And it went east on 25th Street, which is consistent with the Malibu turning east on 25th Street.
And was your review of that consistent with you seeing the Malibu leaving Mr. Dickerson's home at about 5:11 a.m. as we've previously viewed in Exhibit 2E as in Edward?
Yes.
Can we play 2E, please?
So again, the video is about 6 minutes off or so, but you're going to see, this is the corner 2436. You'll see the Malibu leaving. And at this time, you also see movement on Christopher's phone that it's also leaving his residence. And again, it turned east on 25th Street because I didn't see it go west.
And based upon that Google location information, were you able to determine if the Malibu and Mr. Dickerson's phone returned to his house in a few minutes after that?
Yes, around 5:24 a.m., you see the Malibu coming back to the residence, and then you see Christopher's phone also return back to that location.
If we could publish 112, please. What are we looking at here?
That's just the total trip. So it went this way. That's what we saw in the previous exhibit. It comes up this direction, hangs about around here in the neighborhood, and then it returns back to Christopher's location, his residence location.
And is that consistent with the video surveillance that you observed and we've previously played in Exhibit 2F as in Frank?
Yes.
If we could publish 2F, please.
So again, this is the 2436 residence. You're going to see the Malibu going north on 50th Avenue Court. So it's coming back from the location of 25th Street, going east. It's going to turn north. And what I saw in the video is consistent with what I saw on Christopher's phone's location.
Were you able to determine if the Malibu and the victim's phone, Mr. Dickerson's, left again shortly thereafter?
I did.
And if we look at 113, please.
So now Christopher's phone is left again, and at this end point is where you see is where the location is registered. So it left the residence and then went kind of in a north western location through the neighborhood.
All right. Now with that information, what did you do next?
I began tracking the movements. At this point, I believe the suspects had the phone, so I began tracking the movements after the fire.
If we could publish 114, please. And what are we looking at here?
So you'll see here, it's around, I think, 5:33 a.m. This is 35th Avenue. That's 35th Avenue. This is about 22nd Street. This is 28th Street right here, and it's registering a location right around that 22nd Street or so, along running essentially parallel with 35th Avenue.
Exhibit 115.
So you can see that's what we saw previously. It makes that kind of jaunt over, and there's 35th Avenue. It continues up to 5th Street and then heads close to 54th Avenue, going west on 5th Street.
Exhibit 116, please. So let me back up to 114 for a minute. Can we publish 114? Were you able to tell the time frame at approximately 5:30 a.m. that this was traveling?
Around that time, yeah.
And then in regards to exhibit number 115, was that at approximately 5:43 a.m.?
Yes.
Based upon your review and investigation, that's about the time the fire was called in.
Approximately, yes.
And in regards to 116, at 5:57 a.m., what are we looking at here?
The phone is now, it ends right here. It's in the approximately the 5800 block of 29th Street.
Okay. And in regards to at about 6:13 a.m., did you observe or notice the location of Mr. Dickerson's phone up around First Street Road?
Yes.
If we could have 117, please.
So you see the phone went to 47th Avenue, traveled north on 47th Avenue, and then it gave a location right there, and it's there for approximately 6 minutes.
And if we could publish 120.
All right, it's that time. I know I told some of you, but if you weren't here, I was saying I have to go to Monica's trial today at the normal start time. It's going to be a huge week. So I have to switch now over and get that going. So I understand if you want to keep watching this one, I have to go to the other one. And I thank you for watching. I feel like today's been a really good morning with all these different trials and getting some resolution with Jermaine Bass's trial and a lot of information going on with this today. And hopefully a lot going on with Monica's. I think it's going to be a very big day for her trial. In fact, this whole week should be a very big week. So thank you for watching. And if you are hopping over there when that is up, I will see you there.